herzlich willkommen zu unserem Projekt 100 Menschen, 100 Tage. Heute zu Besuch haben wir Yaroslav Minkin und deshalb werden wir ab jetzt Englisch sprechen. Genau, weil Yaroslav eben Englisch spricht. Und I would say, I'm just going to start in English now. Hello, Yaroslav. Thank you for taking your time and speaking with us.
Hello. Hi.
So Yaroslav is a poet and an artist, and then also a peace-building educator. Though you are many more things, but these are like 3 topics that we can say that really describe your work, maybe.
Yeah, that's something like this. And I know that you, Jasmine, is a first artist and also you're political activist and you're active in education, political education.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Thank
so
you.
We know already. We know each other. Yeah.
So my first question for you is, what is first aid for you?
I will say love. I mean, first aid is something when something terrible happened, and you need to find the new resources. You need to rebuild yourself, and of course, without love, inside, outside, around, probably person can't survive. During last 5 years, we were working with ex-combatants and also internally displaced persons in Ukraine, also using arts and educational stuff. And I need to say that people who faced the war, they're kind of, they feel themselves out of society, and they need to be back. And lots of people now need to be back in the world. And probably love is something that is extremely needed.
And do you have an idea how you can spread love in times of war?
Yeah, exactly. That because I'm here, that because yeah, I am invited. When first Lutz contacted me and your team of artists and artivists started a conversation with me, I realized that I should come. I want to explain my position, the position of our team of educators and activists, and I want to explain why we're talking about peace during the war. Because peace, actually, this is a form of love. It's a form of integration of people. It's a form of tolerance. It's a form of inclusion. And yeah, for me, love is something that is started from very small seed. Like if you hate person, you just need to think, okay, maybe this person is still like somehow valuable, like, and you need to find some small stuff why you should respect this person. And then when you have this first respect, then you will see this person not only from the prism of, I don't know, that this is a bad person or that this person did bad things, but you also you will see this human dignity inside. And then probably the aid is coming, big aid.
How did your team meet? Like, how did you start your work as a peace-building educator?
Yeah, we started to work as an art group. I became an artist quite early, not so early like you. Yeah, but I went to my, as you mentioned, that you came to your first protest at 9. No, I wasn't so experienced when I was 9. I was 14 when I started my protests.
Still very young, though.
Yeah, I mean, probably this is the generational thing. And I started to protest against this post-Soviet paternalism in society, in Ukrainian society. These times I lived in Yalta, in Crimea, and I realized that there are a kind of rebuilding of this post-Soviet syndrome, like Stalin's lovers were coming from, I don't know, from underground, from graves. I don't know where they came from, but suddenly in Crimea people started to say, oh, Stalin was somehow great, and the totalitarian regime is not so bad, etc. And I started to be an artist using my poetries, using my way of expression, using, I don't know, the guitar to sing songs. But then, in few years of my active art participation, I realized that Sometimes people see not an artist in me, but more a provocator, the person who want to provoke society. And then I was very sad, angry, anxious, I don't know. And I was thinking, okay, what I can change. And then I became an educator who is thinking how to use arts in a way of changing the world. And cultural background became something that helped me to understand people, to find these keys of person who is maybe against me, who don't think like me, who really hate my values.
So art and politics are very linked to each other for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like in Ukraine, we don't like to say politics. We usually use this civic activism. Like it is not about politicians, but it is more about active participation. And I know that in Germany, somehow participation is something else. Can you explain me?
Participation in Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it's something else, but I think that it's interesting that you say you have a different word for it, because I think we should try to not always say that we are political, but maybe that we are just participating in politics, or want to participate in politics, because politics can be a lobby or just politicians, and maybe I don't want to be part of that, but I want to be part of a process or just changing something. Yeah.
Not to be elected
Yeah.
as a local politician, but to be active every day, in everyday life. Yeah, that's exactly we are using as a word civic activism.
Okay. And how did your work as a peace-building educator change since the situation in the Ukraine from this year?
Even a few years ago, I didn't recognize myself as a peace builder. For me, peace builder was something that a person in a uniform of UN is coming and taking guns from people and saying, "Oh no, you should be peaceful. Don't kill each other."
From above.
Yeah, something like this. And then I started to work with, I don't know, it's a bad word, but people who feel themselves marginalized. It's a kind of people who didn't find themselves in society, like people who faced with xenophobia, with stereotypes, with exclusion. And there are quite big number of groups in Ukraine who were excluded during the past decade. And we started to work not only with these people directly, but with ordinary people, so-called people who are, with pupils, students, teachers, civil servants, I don't know. And we, as a team of people, we decided that, okay, we need to change attitudes. We need to explain, even the topic of gender equality in Ukraine is very cultural. I mean, maybe in Germany you can explain this in another way, like why we need to fight inequality, why we need to empower a woman, why we need to support LGBT plus people. But in Ukraine, it's something that is very cultural, because lots of political, I can say, political actors try to use these topics as a propaganda.
I see.
And and we started to talk about, for example, gender equality from the point of view of culture. Not only about like traditionally man is and women is, no, but we started to say, okay, why this inequality have place in society, in Ukrainian society, in Belarus society, in everywhere. Like why? What is the key point? And of course, my answer is culture, and that because I'm working with culture and with cultural topics to change the world.
So you just told us some differences between Ukraine culture and German culture, but you are here for now how long in Germany?
For 2 days.
2 days. Are there any similarities in our cultures?
I mean, when I first time entrance European Union in 2011, I was thinking how different we are. It was like my idea, okay, I'm an artist from Ukraine. I'm invited by a well-known German institution, Mythos, to participate in different activities. But I'm so far away from this pan-European understanding of culture and arts. And now, after 11 years, I can say, oh, I'm so European-oriented. And I need to say that I'm fighting for unity of us, for diversity of people, very strong in my country, in other countries, online, offline. So I will not say about similarities or differences, but of course the history and the political education are really different. And I remember that when I were a group leader for some educators from Ukraine, and we visited Germany for the first time, and they were waiting for some, I don't know, incredible, great bureaucracy and system, and this old, these stereotypes about Germany, like all this extremely clean stuff, and people are walking in, people are walking, I don't know, in white dresses, or I don't know what they were imagining about Germany. Yeah, but then they were so shocked.
That we're just normal people.
Oh yeah, like, oh no, what happens? Where is our Germany? You stole it from from our dreams.
Yeah. So they had like an idea, like an imagination how we all look, and then they came and were like.
Yeah. But what I learned from Germany is, of course, is diversity, diversity, and the way of creation. This is something that I learned from very beginning, from my first visit to European Union.
The thing that I am thinking about a lot is that there are still artists in Ukraine, and maybe you can tell us something about how their work has changed since the war, and what they are doing right now, and maybe what they need as first aid from maybe others.
Yeah, it's quite long topic. I need to say, I even wrote a book with my friend Patrick Föll about that. But in generally, you need to understand that Ukraine is also quite big country, the same as Germany, and that it is a big difference in between people, artists who are living in eastern part, which is bombed every day, and people who are living in western part, which is really a kind of safety place. But in general, what I realized when I contacted more than 100 people from art and cultural sphere during first days of the war, they said, now we are more mothers, daughters, sisters. We are more like people who are take care of others, and we don't have this feeling that we are cultural or art practitioners. And this was the first reaction when person wants to save those who he or she loves. They don't want to think about arts. They want to say, okay, like now I'm just surviving and I am saving those who are with me. And I contacted a big number of people, and they started to write me what is happening with them. And after that, I realized that this is a big and very important part of things that should be documented. And immediately, together with Masha Wyszecki, artist who actually had an exhibition here, we started to make visual stories about these people. Those people who are from cultural sphere, who decided somehow not to move, or have no resources to move, or, for example, have no access to bank system. I mean, even sometimes when I ask, okay, can we send money to you? And they said, no, it's impossible to send money because it's no cash machine. They didn't manage to take money somehow, like only cash was used. But now, there are a number of big programs that supports artists. For example, Goethe Institute is doing a great thing via their House of Europe program. And they support artists in risks and cultural practitioners in risk. And there are, for example, like fellowship programs and also residency programs all over Europe, even outside Europe. And I need to say that this is a great solidarity from abroad that shows that Ukraine is not alone and that artists are not alone. And also, I'm really thankful for involving Ukrainian artists in a big number of exhibitions, biennales, I don't know, different art practices. Because this is something that helps Ukrainians to be visible and not only to look like I don't know, like a person who is struggling, but also a person who has their opinion and persons who can explain the situation from their own, not only from the newspapers or TV.
Almost like empowering them or reclaiming their position.
Yeah. You are doing this. That's exactly what is needed. And I'm sure that artists, and especially artists from fragile societies, need to be empowered. And I know that sometimes, especially in post-totalitarian or even totalitarian countries, this kind of public events can save the life, because it's much easier to throw into prison the person who is not public than the person who was, I don't know, here in your room. And then, of course, it's a kind of more publicity, and publicity is something that can save the person.
I see. So let's come back to your work as a peace-building educator. Because today you worked in, or you did some things in the Perle here, and you did your educating things.
Did I?
Yeah.
Can you tell, like, maybe a little bit more what happened?
Yeah, so when we met each other today in the morning, I didn't know anything about your work. I just knew that you do some things with other people about peace, but I didn't really know what you use. So what happened was that you asked me and a few other people to come to a table, and we were discussing about what is needed to have peace in a country or in a world. And we had I don't know if the camera can see the things on the ground. So there are a lot of words, and our exercise was just putting the words in a pyramid from like the most important for us to the maybe least important, or so that was our exercise. And then we had to discuss about it in our team, and it was very interesting because as we said, when I would do that, if it was an exercise that you said do it on your own, I would have put the words in a very different position. But because of the aspect that we had to talk about it as a collective, it was very interesting to just listen to the others. And we both had the same word, which was interesting. Which one was it? I think it was that one, right? Education for peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, why is it your, maybe not favorite word? Lutz. Lutz comes for our help. This one.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the most important ones for me. And then you said it's one for you, like one of the most important ones for you too. Why?
Yeah. Maybe because I never heard about peace. I grown up in a quite aggressive society. In Yalta, it was 90s, after the collapse of Soviet Union. It was no food, no money, nothing, and of course no legislation, no taxation, no security.
Where is Yalta?
Yalta, it's quite famous place on the south of Crimean Peninsula. It was a place where Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill signed the agreement. It was like a famous Yalta Conference, where during the Second World War. And yeah, but I know this place from another part. It's a kind of gangster city with lots of this kind of aggression and violence and killings, etc. So I never heard about peace. I never heard, and I never participated in any kind of peace-making processes, peace-building processes. I remember only like how one group of people tried to push another. And yeah, when I became older, when I finished school, I realized that I don't want to live in this society. I must change it. I must find new ways of cooperation, collaboration in between people. And for me, peace education for peace is something that extremely needed for society, for fragile society like Ukrainian, but also for society in general, like for global society in the world. Because now, during this crisis, war crisis, climate crisis, I don't know, political crisis, people start to be even more aggressive, more crazy. And I'm sure that now we need education for peace even more than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because this is my favorite topic. But of course, when I'm talking about education, I'm talking more about, not about like, I don't know, a lecture how to live peacefully. It's not about the lesson. It's more about the finding of your cultural codes, cultural, I don't know, planning, trying to understand like what does it mean this, I don't know, good neighborness. What does it mean inclusion and acceptance of other people? Like what does it mean to love and be loved in society?
So culture plays a big role.
Yeah.
In peace building.
Yeah, because peace is a cultural thing. The only thing that we can say that person can do without others, it's this inner peace. But I'm not sure that you can feel inner peace if you're outside society. I mean, could you, how to? But all other topics of positive peace, of this parts of peace building is for sure cultural thing. Even when we are talking about law, it's also about culture. For example, in Ukraine we had a problem with implementing Istanbul Convention for 5 years. Our parliament didn't vote for Istanbul Convention. It is a shame. But when the war started, they voted for 5 days. 5 days, and that's all. Ukraine is inside inside the Istanbul Convention paradigm, and now we can talk about openly about gender violence and how to work with this, etc. So some, like, when the war started, culture and attitudes are like changed a lot, and people understood that, okay, we can fight in between liberals and conservators. We can fight between, I don't know, young generation and old generation. But after all, if the war is in our country, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
We need to build peace. We need to understand that peace is the value, not the conflict in between people with different points of view.
Yeah. So we talked about another word a lot, which was patriotism.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said that can be very cultural too, where you put it, if it's very important for you for peace building or not. Because in our team as Germans, we said that we want to throw that away. We don't want to have it in our peace building thing. It's not peace building because it destroys peace building. And then you said something very interesting, because you said, well, in Ukraine, a lot of people would take that card and put it on the top. Can you tell us something about that too? Why is that?
It's hard to me to explain, but probably it's also about cultural translation. I mean, differences in understanding of patriotism. I don't know what is the word to be used. Maybe I need to say love of your culture, of your country, of people you're living with. But for sure, it's not about being radical against others. For me, it's I don't know. Maybe maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm using wrong words. But to love something and to support something, it's not so bad. I want to be proud of democracy. I want to be a patriot of democracy. I want to be a great supporter of European democratic values. Is it bad? I hope no. Maybe this is more about the word we use. But of course, in Ukraine, this patriotism is also a way of showing that we are a nation, and we have our unique culture, we have our unique way of thinking, we have our identity as Ukrainians.
Yes.
Even if like you need to understand that, like, I'm as Ukrainian, I'm Russian speaking. I'm Jewish roots, so I'm kind of Ukrainian in a way of not like ethnical Ukrainian. I'm Ukrainian in a way of social, how to say, that I'm part of society. And for me, the topic of patriotism is not a topic of being neo-Nazi or being very strong against others. For me, like, I really love diversity, and I am a patriot of diversity, or I am a fan, I am a supporter of diversity. And I hope that also I need to say that when I studied in Prague, in Prague Civil Society Center, and I did my research about influence of young generation to changes, like to political changes. I asked one of the famous peace builder from Balkans about, like, okay, how we can stay together with all these people I am not agree with people with other political views. with people who are supporting, I don't know, like some politicians who I hate. And Igor Blažević, the person from Prague Civil Society Center, he mentioned like, okay, peace building is not to stay together with people you're like in one direction. Mm-hmm. It's not about people you have a lot of in common. You read similar books, you watch similar movies. It's actually to find the ways of understanding in between people you're kind of disagree with. Mm. This is how to build peace.
Yeah. Pretty hard.
Yeah. And what he said, and I still in thinking about this, that you need to find ways to build peace with these people you don't like, actually, because otherwise aggression and violence will be in the society. Mm-hmm. If you don't accept other opinion, then probably you are not ready to peace. Mm.
I relate to that. I think it's very, like, you have to be in discomfort to build peace sometimes, and even tolerate talking with people who you don't resonate with sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, today for me actually it was hard day of cultural dialogue about peace.
Why?
I disagreed a lot with some people, mm-hmm. but as facilitator I can't say, I disagree with you. Yeah. Because this is not like dialogue works. You need to try to understand the person position. Why person is against something? Mm-hmm. Why person don't support something? You can't just say, okay, everything you said it's lie. Like I don't believe you. No, you need to understand the person, like really try to. And after that, I like the most challenging questions during today's peace dialogue in Kassel helped me to find really new understanding of some topics. And it was very, very complicated discussion about why we need to talk about peace, mm-hmm. and who is guilty that we have a war. Mm-hmm. And that's true that very complicated to talk about peace without talking about the roots of the conflict. Mm-hmm. But also like, of course it is not a way of ignoring, but I'm not sure that this is a way that if you will understand, okay, this is a problem, then you will immediately solve it. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So how does being an artist play in being a... Because I think now we understood your work as an artist and we understood your work as in peace-building educator. How are they combined? How do they help each other, maybe?
Or not to help.
Or not helping each other.
Maybe we both need to share our experience, because for me, artist in me is every time provoking. I'm trying to do something extremely provocative, and educators in me are kind of saying, try to avoid provocation, because then you will not be able to communicate then. Mm-hmm. I remember the 2008 performance in Kiev when I won international poetry slam. My final performance was about Putin and fight against. And I remember that I was thinking, okay, what should be the symbol of this? And I bought a big watermelon, and I brought it to the performance, and I started to cut it and use this, red inside to throw to the public. And they were very shocked. I won this slam because I was really provocative, and I tried to involve public into my performance, but I'm not sure that this way of interacting with public is something that will help me then to talk about peace. What about you? What is your experience?
So I never threw watermelons to people yet. Something I'm missing maybe. But I think I can relate to you a lot. I think sometimes as an artist I am very political, or as we said, like I'm trying to participate in politics a lot, and sometimes even provocate people who don't like to be provocated a lot. And then as an educator, I'm sometimes like I tend to stay moderate. But I think sometimes it can be good to provocate in education, to make people think and have new perspectives. So I think both is necessary and good. I think, yeah, sometimes you can try.
Did you ever faced with someone who is crying during your art interventions? I mean, how you feel if someone will cry, or I don't know, run away from something you're doing?
I think I would try to talk to them, just stay in dialogue and maybe understand their feelings and emotions. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. This is a big discussion in Ukrainian educational sphere. What to do if someone is totally disagree, and also what to do if someone is sharing like true xenophobic attitudes. I don't know, like radical one. And I can say that we have no one answer, because some of educators and artists saying, okay, that's normal, and I will just ignore this. Another one are saying, like more from human rights sphere, that no, we need to have zero tolerance to xenophobia, and if you see the person from the group, from the public, who is like openly xenophobic or sharing these xenophobic attitudes, you should like stop immediately and block the person. And
can you just quickly tell us what xenophobic means?
Yeah, for example, I don't know, when the person is sitting here and saying like, okay, but I think that the biggest problem is Roma people. If we will kill all Roma people, then everything will be fine. This is like what to do with this, yeah? But because sometimes during your performances, during your art interventions, during your peace building things, you will face with this. What to do if person is like really aggressive about some group of people?
Yes.
How to react? And this is a very ethic question. It's a big challenge for me. How to react if someone will say like no dialogue with, I don't know, women. No, they are not in politics anymore.
Yeah.
What I need to do?
Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
How did you react?
Differently.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I become also very angry and starting to be like a teacher, like, no, you are wrong. But that's actually doesn't work like this. Unfortunately. I mean, I know that it doesn't work like this, but I'm doing this sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the best is, of course, to have these arguments and asking, okay, why do you think that women are guilty in all our I don't know, wars? Can you say like about your, I don't know, parents, yeah, your grandmother, or that's like, I mean, trying to find explanation and to find why person is like openly against someone. And also my probably best solution is to involve other people in the group and to say, okay, what you are thinking about it? What do you think about killing others? Like, are you against or not, and why? Not to be as a teacher who is saying like this is a bad guy or bad girl. They're saying like bad words. Let's change this person, but to find the cultural way of explanation, to go deeper into the details. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, it's almost the same thing as I said. Just stay in dialogue and try to talk about the things. I think talking to you is very interesting. I have a lot of questions still, but I think we should open the discussion for other people to ask questions. From now, like, I'm very happy that you are here and are our guest. Thank you for that, and thank you for the interview. And now we're gonna open the discussion. Everyone who has questions can ask you.
Maybe even some ideas or comments.
Yeah.
Because the topic of cultural intervention about peace is quite big, and I'm sure that here in Kassel you have a great tradition of using arts or involving arts as a way of changing people's mind. So,
and you can even ask in German. I can translate. I will say it in German too. Also jetzt ist die Diskussionsrunde. Sie können jetzt Fragen stellen, wenn Sie welche haben. Auch gerne auf Deutsch. Ich kann es dann übersetzen. Auch zu Hause.
yeah, and we need to remind that we're here, Yasmin and Yaroslav, talking about peace dialogues and arts in Kassel.
Sie haben eine Frage?
Yeah,
you can go to the microphone so the people can.
Okay.
Danke sehr.
Yeah, just one short question. I really appreciate your comments about patriotism with regard, you can be patriot of someone you love and something you live, like diversity and democracy. So let's be hooligans for democracy. So so I think it's sometimes maybe important that people from other countries are just telling us that it's good to be very patriot about our democracy and our freedom which we live and have. But what do you do, with regard of the war of aggression against Ukraine with Putin? So, do you think there is a possibility to talk? What do you think? What is you can talk for quite a long time but if someone uses violence, so you're still talking, or how do you protect yourself then?
Yeah, this is this big question of limitation of peaceful dialogue and peaceful protests. I need to say that I have lots of friends in Russia, Belarus, Central Asia, and I know that Ukrainians are very angry now about Russian activists and Belarus activists, because the idea is that Ukrainians believe somehow that Russian activists can stop Putin, or that Belarus activists can stop Lukashenko or stop Putin's army. But, I'm in contact with these activists from Russia for at least last 8 years. And I need to say that lots of them are already out of the country because they're public enemies. And I need to say that dialogue with totalitarian regime, it's like a dialogue with terrorists. I mean, you can try to talk, you can try to avoid direct conflicts, but if the person or regime is only ready for fight and everything is ready only for fight, of course then you can't You can't come and say, let's talk, let's stop tanks by flowers. And this is this limitation of dialogue. I mean, I know that lots of people were, like, I know some heroes who tried to stop these tanks. For example, this photo, like in China, yeah, when a person is stopping the tank, or in Czechoslovakia. But in generally, much more people died because they tried to do this without weapon, without plan, just to come and say, we will stop the war, just staying in front of the tanks. And I learned history, especially this Soviet history, quite well. And I know about Gulag and totalitarian regime and all these things that happened with people, with millions of people. And for sure, you can't use the same instruments in totalitarian society as you have in democratic society. And luckily, Ukraine is democratic state. And that because in Ukraine we have lots of volunteers, lots of artists, lots of local politicians who are trying to solve problems, who are trying to help people in need, who are supporting children without care, who are supporting elderly people now. This is only possible when you're living in democratic society and when you believe that from you is like that something, how to say, that you are a part of the game. If you are thinking that only this government that is never changed for a while, for 26 years in Belarus or Russian, will be able to do something, then it's not democratic society. And of course, for me, I'm really sorry that activists who are trying to fight with totalitarian regime now faced also with lots of anger from democratic world. I know that lots of activists from Russia, Central Asia, Belarus lost their jobs, for example, just because they are by passport Russians. And usually they can't go back to their country. They can't fight their politicians because they will be thrown to the jail for 20 years or killed or just disappeared. And we know this from different backgrounds, from different countries, isn't it? It's not only about this eastern part of Europe. It's everywhere where dictatorship is in power. So, of course, dialogue with terrorists is impossible. And but what I need to say is that even very radical politicians are afraid of people's opinion. And if all people will think, no, we want to build peaceful society, then even the most provocative politician, if it's a democratic society, will be afraid to do something against the public opinion in general. Maybe you have another idea. Maybe you can also share your opinion.
My opinion of talking to what to do if they don't listen.
Yeah, and it was an example of Russia.
Mm-hmm. I think I have almost the same opinion as you have. But I think that sometimes it can be really hard to recognize that they won't listen to you. And it can make you feel very sad. And it can make you feel as if you don't have any force. But then sometimes being a collective, I think the feeling of not being alone can be very, very good in these situations. Searching people who have the same or similar opinions as you have and trying to be a collective with them can make you feel really strong, even though nobody listens to you. But then they have to listen because maybe they don't listen to you, but maybe they will listen to you if you are not alone, but like 50 people. And I think sometimes that can make you feel stronger.
Yeah, I also want to support your idea. There are a big number of people who are now living, unfortunately, in occupied area in Ukraine. And media, especially like Russian media, tries to show that there are lots of people who are happy to see Russian soldiers, etc. And I know that some of these people who are also artists and educators and cultural workers, they were looking for some kind of help, not for money, not for some goods. It's just impossible to send it to them, but more to be recognized as a persons in prison, where you can't openly say that you're against the regime, against the war, against the tanks that came to your city, to your town, to your home. And I know that, for example, it's a suggestion to all of you, to all of people who are watching us now. You can just search in Facebook, find some people who are connected to Kherson region, to Crimea, to Donbass region, and just try to talk with them, to show that you are supporting them, even if they are kind of in prison. Of course, first they will say that they are out of politics because they're afraid to be open with foreigner. But for sure, we need to show this support for people who are still staying in occupied areas all over the world, to show that they are not forgotten.
I wanted to say something about your comment that it's impossible to talk to terrorists, which I by and large agree with you. But I wanted to give two examples of two strong women who spoke to people where most everyone would agree it's impossible to talk to these people. And I mean, these situations are not comparable with your situation, but I want to just give them as examples as maybe something to look to and maybe on a smaller level. So let me get right into it. One is a black woman in Germany who received a death threat from neo-Nazis, and she overcame her fear by starting to talk to them. She went to their demonstrations. She met with people of the Ku Klux Klan and with an armed pickup truck by their side, and she started talking to them and started to meet them on the level of a human being. So her weapon, if you will, was that she is talking to them as human beings. And let's not forget that no one is born with these ideas in mind. They just become that way over time. And she was able to talk to them, open a dialogue, and it doesn't always work out that way, but she, in the end, became friends with a neo-Nazi who left the scene. And it's an example of courage, but maybe it's also an example of a woman facing a man. Maybe they're a little less inclined to immediately use violence if a woman talks to them. The other example is my wife, who has done rebel negotiation in Eastern Congo in the middle of the war, and she was setting up emergency hospitals, and they came under fire. So she ended up talking with a warlord at gunpoint, and basically tried to talk him out of, we're trying to save lives here, and these are civilians, and we're setting up this hospital, and she tried to talk to him, she asked some questions, but first she paid the respect of, I'm also African, I'm talking to a brother here, where are you coming from? And she ended up having a discussion with him, and he agreed to not bomb or shoot that hospital. And it's a way back to the level, I'm a human, you are a human, let's have a conversation. I know it's not working with Putin, but it may work with some renegade squadron going around some parts of Ukraine. It's something just to remember when maybe there's a face-to-face situation. Talk to people and never give up hope that there might be dialogue, whatever length it might be and whatever it leads to. But I think these are two hopeful examples that sort of belie the notion that it's never possible. I mean, sometimes it is possible, sometimes it isn't, but I just want to share that.
I have a question to you. Do you think that arts is a kind of this unique instrument of having dialogue even with those who are completely disagree with you?
It can be, if you can reach them. It's a little bit of a problem that people who are willing to respond to art usually are the people who are already a little bit more open-minded. So it comes often down to preaching to the choir. You talk to the people who already agree with you. And I think art can be more effective if you take it out of the art context into the public space and doing something with posters, with billboards, like being done here on the other side of that fence, where the general public sees something, and if you can move minds one person at a time, which I think one person at a time is a very important thing also. You speak to someone and maybe they transport your narrative to another person, or maybe you speak to one Russian who has been brainwashed and finds himself in captivity in Ukraine, that you still treat him as a human and that you don't start taking revenge on individuals who've been forced into this conflict. I try to tell people, these Russians, they're not all monsters. They're just sent there. They don't even know what they're doing there and why, but they have some idea that they're doing the right thing. And we talked about this earlier, so something not to forget. But art, yes, art can be an eye-opener. It has been many times for me, even on topics where, I learned something. If it's something that you can learn from, then it can do that. And if it's outside of the museum, even better.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I think I speak in English and it simplifies what I want to say, but I try. The last month or week we had a communication problem at Documenta 15 because there was a topic in the room, in the space. It's let's call anti-Semitic thing. And after Documenta starts, it was more weeks and weeks of not dialogue, non-dialogue, and not talking and it was a pity because Ruan Grupa, artist curator group, they speak for weeks and months. Yeah? They come to our house and our other houses and just talk. I would like to say from bottom up. In a certain way, but from top down, this is a simplifying, I know, but from top down there was a big silence over months and months, and the last 2 weeks it was a fire burning and was increasing silence, thundering silence, and after that Mrs. Schaumann had to go. But I think there's a further problem in the communication between, let's say, simplifying top down and bottom up. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, I propose you to start, and maybe I will also think, because I'm really not so informed. I heard about this conflict, and I can imagine that sometimes silence is something that just destroyed trust in between. But what do you think?
I think that in that case, speaking to each other was very necessary. And speaking to each other and doing it fast. And also not only speaking from one way, but speaking in a dialogue. Being there so people who are being frustrated or feel hurt, they need someone they can talk to because they have their feelings in themselves, because they don't feel trust anymore and they don't know where to put their feelings or who they should talk to. And I think in that case it was very necessary that there are people that you can directly go to and have a dialogue with.
Yeah, I just want to add that probably we need to have this kind of artivists who will be facilitators of dialogue. Maybe now when the conflict is on the hot period, like when both sides or all sides are kind of in this aggression part of the conflict, maybe you as a people from art sphere can become a facilitators of dialogue and say, okay, we are a platform where you can openly discuss and we can support you to avoid this kind of scandals and to talk openly that political, like there are artists with different political views, but also like we all should be like inclusive and at least to have respect to other opinion and not to attack someone even if you're like totally against this.
Yeah. I think the conflict has a lot to do with fear. People being afraid of putting themselves out there because they're afraid of what other people may tell them or say to them. What was that? You can speak. You may.
No, it was just a little performance. Excuse me. I forgot about the most important topic in my question or description. I want to thank you for this sophisticated 2 days dialogue, because for me or for us it was an extraordinary example of how to come in this very, very difficult space of Ukrainian peace and war. For us it was very, it hurts, and it's not only talking and thinking, it's also we start to feeling about it, and I want to thank you for this example.
Thank you very much for organizing this. I mean, your initiative is extremely important, and also like this is something that is a kind of self-organized, but of course it's not like a self, but I mean you are organizers, and I'm sure that artists should be those who are influence to the dialogue in society, who can rethink different ideas, where arts, where cultural practices, and help to people become united.
I think Stefan just told me that he has a question at home.
Yes, exactly. We have a question from Facebook, from Kerstin Leitschuh. One moment, I want to show it up. What gives you personally the power and the strength not to give up, to keep on talking to people about peace? Why should we all not to stop to do this?
Yeah. Probably for me it's a kind of my way of supporting society. When I was a teenager, I read lots of books about, like 1984, Orwell, and about all these anti-utopia things. And I was thinking, oh, thanks to God, I am not living in this anti-utopia society. And then somehow I started to analyze it. Actually, sometimes it's not far away from me. And from very beginning, I started to think, okay, how I need to fight this authoritarian, totalitarian society regimes. Yeah, what I can do as a small person, as an individual, but also as a group of people. And yeah, first, when I was 17, I decided that we need to create a group of neo-hippie in Yalta, and we had this big group of very young people with long hairs who tried to say to society, we're not in this game. We don't want to be this aggressive, killing each other people. And I strongly believe that individual, one person will not be able to change the situation. But I know lots of examples when a group of people, even a small group of people, can change a lot. And for me, I see that there are other people like you who are staying here, like who are also ready for doing changes. And that is something that keeping me active, alive, because I have a feeling that yes, we are kind of from similar books. We read probably similar books. We watched some similar movies. We had these deeply discussions from, I don't know, from childhood, and then I remember, like, during today's dialogues, we had this discussion about, like, how I started to hate xenophobia, how I started to hate neo-Nazism, like all these radical movements. It was very helpful for me also to see that there are something in common, and there are lots of artists, activists, educators who are from very beginning trying to fight inequality. And probably people, love to people, is keeping me active, alive.
Okay, if there are not any more questions, then we will stop now. Thank you very, very much for that interview, for that discussion. It was so interesting. And thank you for your work and willing to come here and talk to us and talk to the people at home. I have a lot of respect for you and your work, and I think a lot of people got that now too for you. And I wish you the best for your work still, for your peace building, and also as an artist. And yeah, do you want to add something?
We started to talk from love, and I think that is something we need to finish.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see this open-minded people with acceptance to other. I really love to stay with you, and I'm sure that one day or in the future we will do a lot of work for peace. And I believe that art is something that will move society into the more peaceful way of life. Thank you, and thank you for hosting me.
Thank you.
You make me